children are putting a podcast room together. And podcast rooms are not as easy as you think. Action, Jackson. My room is kind of cool because it's sparse. And we went with that so that you get to sign this when you're done today, which is pretty cool.
Very nice.
It is cool.
So where are we going back to? I don't know what you want to talk about now. The
Entrepreneurship. Yeah, for sure.
I guess we got to have somewhere to start.
I will tell you, I'm getting, as I told you before, tons and tons of affirmation thus far about people agreeing with the frustration that I've expressed from wanting to take the word away from some people
right,
and give it to all the people and make it an inclusive word. And so far, people are liking that idea.
Right. So in that aspect, would it not be that we just say that it's just something that all human beings do, so you can't label yourself?
Exactly. We're all entrepreneurs. Like, that's what I said. We are all, and we all have the entrepreneurial spirit. Point of it to me is that I believe, just like the personality profiling, even though they tell you you're one thing, we're all of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could be one way one day and you could be another way. So same thing with entrepreneurship. We all have entrepreneurial spirit.
And who would they be? You said they.
Well, I think that at this point, social media, obviously,
right.
The media in general. Social media this business has made me be more involved in social media than I would have ever have been naturally in my life. I would have posted my vacation pictures or whatever, and now I wouldn't have been posting anything.
Right.
Or I was golfing.
Right.
But now I'm on it, either looking for content, looking at my competition, trying to figure out how to get new clients, trying to figure out how to advertise and market to the demographics that I'm Not Mad at You is working with, which is everybody, since we say everybody has challenges.
For sure.
Not just companies. So I watch lots of videos and lots of individuals claiming to be very entrepreneurial, and they do it in a very interesting way in terms of like showing themselves on Maseratis and in private jets, and somehow that insinuates that you're entrepreneurial versus typically
the glamorization of the word is, I think, more what it sounds like opposed to what it really is going on, because that's all they're doing is making it all pretty looking and saying like this is what entrepreneur is, but in reality, they're missing a lot of the steps, or I guess you could say details.
Well, they're entrepreneurial too, right? Yeah. Like they have, like you put it, they have entrepreneurial ideas, and it was entrepreneurial of them to start those businesses. That's entrepreneurial. Right. But also being entrepreneurial is also knowing you're 25 years old and you don't know everything. So maybe you shouldn't go boast that you're one way and forget that you still have lessons to learn, right? Because at the same time, if you say that you have to own a business to be entrepreneurial, it takes, as we've talked about, the definition being to undertake. It takes that definition away from any of us that don't own a business.
Right.
Moms, nurses, doctors, someone who doesn't work, old people, young people.
What you're saying, it's hard to say. I guess what people are saying when they use that word, they're forgetting that those same skills are needed for many tasks in life. So realistically, that's where I guess there's some downplay in that fact of certain maybe titles of people's life. Like, I don't know, say housewife or whatever.
Right.
We
don't put as much value on that word as we do entrepreneurial, which is ridiculous. And at the same time, I would say every single human being has entrepreneurial spirit in terms of the actual definition of the word, which is to undertake and to have adventure, right?
Yeah.
Every person I know has those. Now, how much people tap in to their entrepreneurial spirit? But I also, like I said, I just don't like it being taken away from so many people with the way it's been, like, as we've read and as we learned, the initial word was mid-18th century French, to undertake with adventure. In the Industrial Revolution in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 20s, they changed the meaning of it to basically mean someone who owned a business, someone who had an idea to make something better, and probably then it was all about production, some little never came up with a way of, I can produce 1,000,000 units per hour versus 10,000. So that was the entrepreneurial guy that probably came with that idea, sold it off to, and he didn't own any businesses, but they called him entrepreneurial. I think that's who that guy was back then.
Right.
Now it's any jackass that tells you they are.
Right. Or maybe life has just become so complex that you have all the skills to be doing the same thing, you know? Like, you have to have those skills to be able to survive. I mean, they're not as glorious as somebody making $1 million move, but, I mean, same thing that happens in the parking lot of a gas station of a single mom who loses all their money or doesn't have money and the car breaks down, and then what do? You know, and then they have kids to take care of, they have themselves to take care of, and whatever. Now they don't have a car to get back and forth to wherever they're going. I mean, that sounds a lot more difficult than some of the stuff that you hear some people that want to call themselves entrepreneurs. And for me, I don't necessarily care if people use the word or not, if it makes them feel better. Like, I mean, that's what in my mind, that's why I think people use the word. Like, again, to cover themselves up for the fact that they have yet to create success in their own mind, which already they're probably judging that up against somebody else's success. And so they're really blinded from what the moves they're making and the positive actions that they're making by really relying on, to me, what is, I think, the crutch of saying the word.
Society's current definition, right? And so if you look that way, you are that versus we're all that. So stop taking it away from certain people. Let all of us use it. You know, like, we're all entrepreneurial. You flashing to the world that you're any more or less than any of us is not really, to be honest with you, anyone. You're a business owner, Travis. Did you ever, in any circle, on a golf course, at a bar, any time ever introduce yourself as, I'm Travis Rose and I'm an entrepreneur?
No. Just business owner or contractor or whatever. But I mean, entrepreneur is never used. I don't think.
I've never heard a colleague of mine, a friend of mine, I've never heard anybody of our friends in our social circle that own actual businesses call themselves entrepreneurs.
Right.
In fact, they could call themselves problem solvers, you know, shit shovelers, you know what I mean, like dealing with all the crap. But I never, ever hear any of my friends that own businesses use the word as entrepreneur to define them. I only see young generation people slanging that word around and trying to get influence and get followers and, you know, make you believe something versus, like you just said, like the mom trying to figure out how to get groceries and how to get a broken car down with a kid has to think of 17 entrepreneurial things to get herself home. That's problem solving.
In general, just living creates the word of entrepreneur.
Exactly.
I mean, the skills you need to live are the same thing to be an entrepreneur. Now you just don't get framed in the glory of being the word entrepreneur. Exactly.
Which is a very, like, we've put a lot of positive affirmation on that word.
Right.
So I think that's not fair to, like, when that woman that you just described got home that night from solving that problem, no one's going to look at her and say you were really entrepreneurial and you did amazing things, but she was.
Right.
And she doesn't get the patting on the back. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no one that's going to say all that to her. The person that is doing it is getting people to affirm them. And you know the value of having those positive words said about you. The home mom, no one's like, oh my God, the 97 problems you solved today. Wow, that's impressive.
Right.
No one says that to her or him or whoever. Kids, we just call them smart. Mm-hmm. We never call them, wow, they're entrepreneurial.
Right. But so, I mean, I'm guessing there's still going to be a majority of the population, not majority, but a portion of them that will say that they are successful and they do use the name to call themselves that and to describe what they do. And I mean, they may have something to say about what we have said about the word, you know. And so I don't know if
open conversation.
I mean, what your viewpoints would be from looking from their side.
Yes.
I don't know if that would be something to reflect on, I guess, to see.
I would like to hear, because I also think that I'm pretty sure that I would also then fall into the category that they're saying is entrepreneur.
Right.
And I know this much. being an entrepreneur is solving problems.
Right.
That's what I'm doing. You were an entrepreneur according to the definition that I'm talking about in the social media definition. And what did you do all day long, Travis? I remember being there with you.
Right.
On my first job as a client, as a consultant. And I remembered watching what you did all day long, which was what?
Problem solving.
Yes.
Well,
I would want if they heard this podcast for this to empower them that they have been entrepreneurial and don't allow society's definition to not allow you to already believe you are entrepreneurial, because you are. That's really, to me, like probably the deepest passion I've had all along is like whoever is now out there, I don't care, male, female, young, old, it doesn't matter to me, is please don't let how society has defined entrepreneurship for you to not believe you are as well.
Right.
Because we all are. All my goal of this podcast is to try to help the word get to be more inclusive and not less. I think we're good.